either. So, who put Bella in the Wych-Elm? I'm sure that you have seen these spray painted, mausoleums with this spray painted on there, but maybe you've never researched the story. One Sunday morning in April 1943, during the dark days of World War II, 4 teenage boys made a terrifying discovery that baffled the police and remains a mystery still. The boys were searching for birds' nests in Hagley Woods, a private estate near Birmingham and in England's Midlands. They spotted a nest and climbed up an ancient old wych-elm tree, where 15-year-old Bob Farmer saw something truly terrible. When he looked down into the hollowed-out trunk of the tree, he noticed a strange object staring back at him, and he reached down and picked it up. He was horrified when he realized that it was a skull. A clump of hair hung off the forehead, and 2 crooked teeth gaped out of the mouth. After the boys had a good look at it, because you know how teenage boys are, they put it back in the tree and left the woods. They decided amongst themselves that they were not going to tell anyone about their discovery because they were trespassing and poaching, so they could get in a lot of trouble if they mentioned it to the police. But one of the boys was so upset by what he saw that he told his dad, and the police were soon called to the area. Good on him, because I don't think I could live with that. What they found inside this tree was bizarre. It was the skeleton of a young woman. She was missing one of her hands, and a piece of taffeta was stuffed in the skull's mouth. Some scraps of cloth with the labels cut out, and shoes and a gold ring were also found inside the tree. They did find the bones of the hand nearby, scattered next to the tree, but the police were troubled by the unusual circumstances of her death. More sinister forces at work in Hagley Wood. Pathologist James Webster was able to determine that the victim had passed away 18 months prior, that she was around the age of 35. She had mousy colored hair, 5 foot tall, and she had given birth in the past, and obviously had irregular teeth. They could find no obvious injuries and concluded that she had probably died as a result of the cloth that they found in her throat. They also believed that she had been placed in the tree shortly after death because the space was so tight that she would not have fitted in there once rigor mortis had set in. From Webster's work, the police managed to create a detailed description of this woman, but nobody came forward, and a search of 3,000 missing persons cases proved fruitless. It's crazy. A nationwide search of dental practices also came up blank. The woman had had dental work done within a year of her death, but there was no trace of her presence at any surgery. The flurry of press interest, of course, soon faded. The trials of war were at the center of most people's thoughts at this time, and the area suffered 3 years of bombing, and life was hard. I can't even imagine that. I can't even. As Christmas of 1943 approached, people had forgotten about the strange case of the woman in the tree. That is, until the graffiti started. Who put Lubella down the wych-elm? The first one said. And then Hagley Wood Bella. went on, the woman in the old elm at Hagley would be known as Bella, even by the police. They were never able to find out who was responsible for the graffiti, and they were no closer to answering the question: was the writer of the graffiti taunting the police? Did they kill Bella? Did they know who had? Apparently, a folklorist named Margaret Murray got really into this account, and she suggested that Bella may have been killed in an occult ceremony, and the removal of the hand was typical of a black magic execution. The theory that Bella had fallen victim to a coven of witches was popular for a while, but with the absence of any genuine leads from the police, the case eventually went cold. It wasn't until 1953 when journalist Wilfred Byford Jones started to write about the case that interest was revived. Wilfred would soon receive the first solid lead in nearly a decade. A letter, signed only Anna, offered new details of what happened to Bella. According to the letter, Bella had been murdered because of her involvement with a Nazi spy ring operating in the Midlands in the early 1940s. The spy theory seemed more rooted in reality than talk of witchcraft. Hundreds of German spies were captured in Britain during the war, and the Midlands would have been a valuable source of intelligence because of its prevalence of munitions factories. Was Bella in the Wych-Elm part of a Nazi spy ring? Wilfred received the letter in 1953 from Anna of Claverley. So, finish your articles, read the Wych-Elm by all means. They are interesting to your readers, but you'll never solve the mystery. The one person who could give answers is now beyond the jurisdiction of earthly courts. The affair is closed and involves no witches, black magic, or moonlit rites, the letter read. Byford Jones was intrigued, naturally. Whoever wrote this clearly had first-hand knowledge of what happened, and after subsequent correspondences, Anna revealed herself to be Una Mossop, and she told the full story. Her husband Jack worked at the local munitions factory in early 1940s and had come into some money after meeting a mysterious Dutchman. Jack later admitted to Una that the Dutchman was a Nazi agent. Jack had been passing him information about local industrial sites, which in turn was passed to another agent posing as a cabaret performer at local theaters. The Midlands had been bombarded by the Luftwaffe. I'm sure I jacked that up. Luftwaffe. Luftwaffe. In the early 40s, and such information would have been invaluable for the Nazis to target their raids where they would do the most damage to Britain's war effort. One day, Jack met his contact at a pub close to Hagley Wood. He was arguing with a Dutch woman. He ordered Jack to drive them both out to Clint Hills, but the argument had grown extremely violent, and the Dutch agent strangled the woman in the car. Fearing for his own life, Jack helped carry the body into the Hagley Wood, where the pair buried her in the hollow of the old elm tree. McCormick's murder by witchcraft, despite its name, was built upon the spy ring theory. According to his information, a Nazi agent by the name of Lehrer was operating in the Midlands in 1941, and he had a Dutch girlfriend living in Birmingham called Clarabella Drunkers. Clarabella is a beautiful name. Was Clarabella the Bella that they found in the Wych-Elm? Like Bella, she was about 30 years old and had crooked teeth. What's especially suggestive about the identification is that a real Nazi spy was captured in mid-1942 and executed at Wandsworth Prison on New Year's Eve that year. His name was Johann Marinus Drunkers. Was Bella this Dutch spy's wife? The wedding ring found with her body leans towards this idea. If she was a foreigner, that would explain why they couldn't find any evidence of her in England. It's possible that some kind of love triangle developed amongst the agents, or that Bella had grown loose-lipped and revealed the existence to the British authorities. While the exact nature of the operations and how this tangle of names and relationships fit together remains unclear, the notion that Bella was involved in some way with a spy ring seems quite convincing. Further tidbits support this idea. There are several reports in 1940 and 1941 of the Home Guard being alerted to possible agents parachuting into the area around Clint Hill and Hagley Wood. Furthermore, a British soldier told author Ian Topham that he saw Nazi files detailing agents that were operating in the Midlands. One operative matching Bella's description was codenamed Clara and had parachuted into the area in 1941. In recent years, newly declassified MI5 files from the war have shed some fresh light on the spy ring theory. One file details the arrest and interrogation of a Czech-born Gestapo, that's a fun word, agent named Josef Jacobs. Jacobs, who had the dubious distinction having been the last man executed at the Tower of London, was captured after parachuting into Cambridgeshire in 1941. Found on Jacobs' person was a photograph of a young woman, a cabaret singer, and German movie star called Clara Bowerly. According to Jacobs, she had also been recruited by the Gestapo as a secret agent. Jacobs' information checked out. Bowerly was a German cabaret singer and had worked in Birmingham for several years before the war, and had even developed a convincing local accent. She would have been an ideal candidate for a spy. According to Jacobs, she was due to follow him to England, although after his capture he thought it very unlikely that this had happened. But the timings made sense. Was this Bella? Nothing was heard of Bowerly again after 1941, the year that Bella was thought to have died. If she was not the Bella in the Wych-Elm, what happened to her? It's not too much of a stretch to see how Clara Bowerly may have been remembered as Clarabella to English audiences. Perhaps someone had even recognized her from her pre-war days in Birmingham. The risk of Clara being exposed as a German in England during the middle of a war may have threatened the spy ring that she'd been involved in. Could it have led to her being permanently silenced and left to haunt the woods at Hagley? So, one reason that might tend against the spy theory is the method of death. She was found deep in a private woodland in an overgrown wych-elm tree. It's hard to understand why anyone, least of all a foreign none of the remaining members of the ring were ever found, despite extensive searches. And even today, with wartime records declassified, very little light has been shed on this spy ring. So, recently discovered in the MI5 documents prompted the theory that Bella may have been Joseph Jacobs' girlfriend, Clara Bowley, again, like we talked about, but the idea has flaws. Pathologist James Webster listed Bella's height at 5 foot, where Bowerly was known to be quite tall. And online databases of German musical performers list her death as 1942, which, if that's accurate, would rule her out as Bella. But again, they really couldn't find out what happened to her. Now, other less exotic theories have been suggested over the years. Bella was a prostitute murdered by an angry John, or a local barmaid killed by an American GI. More far-fetched was that she was a gypsy killed in an occult ritual. It's doubtful that we'll ever really know what happened at Hagley Wood, but perhaps there's someone still out there, now pretty old, carrying a dark secret. Just a few years ago, some graffiti appeared on the 2,000-year-old Witchbury obelisk at Hagley Hall, and in large block capital letters it reads, "Who put Bella in the Wych-Elm?" I myself find it very, very weird that people are still spray painting things on, I guess, it could have been some teenager that read the story and was like, I'm gonna go spray paint that somewhere. I do find it weird that they couldn't find any sort of record of her dental surgeries in England. But it makes sense if she was a spy, if she was the German Clara, that she didn't have it done in England, so they very easily could have. And it probably wasn't that easy to search back then. There's no internet that you can get on and email people in other countries at that point. I do find it weird, just like I always do, and I think it's so odd. There's no missing persons database, like, where were her parents? Did no one notice that this girl was missing? She was roughly 35 or in her 30s and had a baby. Where is this baby? Did she grow up her whole life thinking that her mom left her, or that she was going to come back, and really and then her remains disappeared? That's so weird. Like, how did that happen? I couldn't really find much information on it. Was she dug up? Did they disappear from the morgue? Why would someone take her remains? They already had enough information to have the dental records and everything, so what benefit do you get from further? I don't know, they might have been able to extract some DNA now that, things have advanced, but what are the odds this long from now that they would be able to do that, or that any of the remaining family would still be alive? I do think it's weird that if she was a spy, who found that tree? How did they know it was there? It doesn't seem like, just straight from the ground, it doesn't appear that the tree is hollow. You wouldn't discover it until you climbed up. Was it naturally hollow? Did they hollow it out to fit her in there? If they did that, why not just bury her? I have never heard the spy ring theory before. I just had read, know, but it's not all of my hair, and I can hide it. People are so discriminatory of hair color. I got told once that I have too many earrings. More than once, twice. I do interview. I have 3 and 4, and I have 1 up here. I don't wear all of them. I only wear 2 of them, and then this one. My sister has like 15. I don't even know. She'd have to tell you. Up each side. It's great. Why do my earrings matter? If I am a good worker and I am a hard worker and I show up on time and I do my job and I do it well, who gives a flying hootie hoot how many earrings I have in my ear? Because let me tell you what, people are not looking at that. They're not. They're really, I mean, are they? I don't look at that. I don't look at you when I meet you and see how many earrings you have in your, like, I know I've gone off on a tangent here, but anyway, back to where I was going. I don't think that witchcraft was involved, and anyway, what do you think? Have you heard? I gotta get off of here before I keep going. Have you heard of the spy ring story before? Like I said, I don't really research it when they start twisting it into the occult, which is why I almost didn't do the Zach and Addie video, because it's like, oh, just because they lived above a voodoo shop, he was possessed. No, like, you it's not a proximity thing, guys. It's not something that rubs off. I'm not even going to get into that. I already talked about discrimination of skin color, and that was, you know, I love all people. If you're kind to me, then I'm kind to you, and the fact that people can just, I think people have to have something to blame things on, and that was what they chose, and